Welcome back to Trails from DuPage. Today we're going to take a ride from Villa Park to the Brookfield Zoo. We will take two trails. We'll start on the Illinois Prairie Path main stem in Villa Park, just east of Lombard. And we'll take that into Elmhurst, where we will connect with the Salt Creek Trail. The Salt Creek Trail runs all the way from Bussey Woods to Brookfield Zoo in Riverside. I've indicated that this is a 30-mile ride. However, it could be slightly less depending on where you decide to park. The Salt Creek Trail north of Villa Park seems to be somewhat disjointed. That's why I chose to take the Prairie Path. The Salt Creek Trail actually joins up with the Prairie Path just about a block west of Route 83 at Monterey Avenue, which is just after you pass the old Ovaltine factory complex. The Salt Creek Trail gets a lot of bad reviews, and I think that's mostly because of the sections from Schaumburg, Bussey Woods, down to the Villa Park area. A lot of places it's disconnected and runs through neighborhoods. In the reviews, you'll often see comments saying that the riders had to stop, check their maps to see where they were supposed to be going. Once you get to Villa Park, however, and connect with the Illinois Prairie Path, it is a continuous trail all the way to the zoo, and it's mostly paved, so it's a very pleasant trail to ride. After you cross Route 83, you will then cross Salt Creek. This is the dividing line between Villa Park and Elmhurst. When you see the Welcome to Elmhurst sign, the Salt Creek Trail makes a right turn and goes on to Rex Boulevard, where it will go south for about 3 blocks until Rex Boulevard ends. There's very little traffic on Rex Boulevard, so it's safe to ride right on the street. At the end of Rex Boulevard, you'll see a guardrail where the trail continues. I wouldn't recommend taking this, but I will show you. The trail becomes a wood chip trail and is not very comfortable to ride on for about a block. Instead, follow the street to the left for 1 or 2 blocks. I would recommend 2 blocks. Go out to Fairway Avenue and go south for another 3 blocks before rejoining the trail. If you take the alternate route of Fairview Avenue that I was suggesting, then you will join the path again where it's paved. The path continues along Salt Creek and eventually emerges into Eldridge Park in the southern part of Elmhurst. Signage will show you which way the Salt Creek Trail runs. There are a number of paths within Eldridge Park, but basically you're staying on the Salt Creek Trail. The path turns across the creek on a bridge, and right after the bridge, you'll make a left following the path that's designated with the yellow line. And still there is signage that tells you this is the Salt Creek Trail. This will bring you up along the parking lot, and at the end of the parking lot, or rather the beginning of the parking lot, there is a stoplight that you can use to cross Butterfield Road safely. Immediately after crossing Butterfield Road, the path makes a left turn and swings back towards the creek. The trail makes its way behind a townhouse development. As it does, it dips down lower, allowing you to pass under Roosevelt Road. Slow your pace a little as you approach this underpass. Immediately after passing both Brush Hill Road and Roosevelt Road, you will be making two very sharp right turns. You may have some difficulty navigating the second turn, which is extremely sharp, as you work your way up parallel to Roosevelt Road going eastbound. You just passed from Elmhurst to Oakbrook in going under Roosevelt Road. The trail parallels Roosevelt Road and the frontage road that runs adjacent to Roosevelt Road for a short while until you get down to York Woods. York Woods is a small forest preserve, only about 71 acres, but it has the distinction of being the oldest forest preserve in DuPage County. It's a little bit confusing getting around in the forest preserve, even though there's really only two paths. But the Salt Creek Trail is the westernmost path that you would take. The two paths join up again just before you get to the southern parking lot of York Woods. Pay attention at that particular intersection, as when you're coming back, you may end up missing the turnoff and going around in circles for a couple of times before you figure out where it is that you should be turning. The parking lot is located on Hager Road in Oakbrook, but the path passes under Hager Road via a tunnel and then makes a cloverleaf turn up to York Road. So it's a very easy passage, albeit a little bit of a hill climb, not that bad. Improvements here at York Woods, or rather just south of York Woods, makes it very easy to navigate the interstate highways. We were crossing Interstate I-88 here on a bridge built specifically for the trail within just the past few years. Prior to these improvements, it was very dangerous if you wanted to either walk or bicycle along York Road from Roosevelt Road down to Oakbrook, as there was nothing but pavement, a narrow road with a lot of traffic at the time. This takes you off of the pavement and lets you commute in safety. From I-88 down to Cermak Road, the trail first joins a frontage road and then continues along on the sidewalk, which is a little bumpy as far as I'm concerned. Along with the bumps, you'll be passing a few driveways, so I would proceed with caution as you make your way towards Cermak Road. From Cermak Road, also known as 22nd Street, down to 31st Street, the trail becomes a narrow limestone trail as it passes by the Oakbrook Golf Club and the Butler National Golf Course. As you pass the entrance to the golf course, you will snake a little bit west and then back east, and you'll kind of intermingle with the golfers. Just south of 31st Street, by a quarter of a mile, you'll come to Canterbury Lane. There is a crosswalk here, and the path, the Salt Creek Trail, crosses York Road at this point and proceeds down Canterbury Road. Unless you live in Oakbrook, you may be somewhat surprised at the size of the homes along Canterbury Lane. Canterbury Lane is a dead-end street, and the path continues where the street ends. We will be traveling towards Interstate 294, and it's worth noting here that if it wasn't for the founder of modern Oakbrook, Paul Butler, 294 would have been inside DuPage County. He actually had enough clout to have the roadway moved beyond the borders of Oakbrook. Again, our passage has been made rather easy via an old tunnel right under 294 along Salt Creek. Once we pass 294, we have now entered into Cook County, and the path will travel all the way to Brookfield Zoo via a series of connected forest preserves. The first of these forest preserves is Bemis Woods, where we will bike along the Meadowlark golf course. And on the southern part of Bemis Woods is the Go Ape Zipline Adventure Park, for those who are interested in that kind of sport. That would only be a short detour across this bridge. Your first road crossing in Cook County is Wolf Road. It's unprotected, and Wolf Road is kind of a busy road, so take your time, slow down, and look both ways before crossing. At this crossing, you're leaving Bemis Woods and entering Salt Creek Woods Nature Preserve. This is a slightly hilly section, and as soon as you cross the street, you'll be confronted with a small uphill climb. As you approach 31st Street again, the path joins a small side street for a short section. At 31st Street, you do have a sort of a semi-protected crossing. You have a stoplight that you can activate. Make sure that the motorists are aware of the light before you cross, however. As you cross 31st Street, you're now entering Westchester and Possum Hollow Woods. I like this area. It's an area where I grew up in, and I used to do a lot of exploring and hiking around before there were even paved trails built in this area. In the old days on muddy trails, we would simply camp out in the woods. We now worked our way back up to 22nd Street, where we will be crossing Mannheim Road. Here we enter our next forest preserve, Brazina Woods. Brazina Woods is a greenbelt that runs between Broadview to the north and LaGrange Park to the south. It'll take us all the way to 25th Street and underneath a set of railroad tracks with a very low bridge. Make sure you duck when you get there. After crossing 25th Avenue, we go into another forest preserve simply called 26th Street Woods. Our last street crossing before reaching our destination of Brookfield Zoo is 17th Avenue. Here it's a little bit more barricaded. Again, it's a fairly busy street, so take your time crossing here. Brookfield Zoo is located at 1st Avenue and 31st Street in Riverside, or maybe that's Brookfield since it's called Brookfield Zoo. If you travel there during their normal operating hours, you will be able to enter the parking lot for Brookfield Zoo, which is on the north side of 31st Street as you arrive. If you travel there outside of their normal open hours, you will not be able to get into the parking lot, and you would have to go along 31st Street to get to the front of the zoo. But this is basically the end of our journey, and I will not be showing the return trip because it's just a duplication of what we have just ridden through. I hope you've enjoyed this short and scenic ride and will join me on my next adventure as I discover more trails that start in DuPage County.